All right, my friends, so today we are going to show you how to update to Catalina. Now, on my computer here currently, we are already running Catalina, so we're not going to go through the upgrade process, but we are going to show you the steps that you may want to take previous to doing it to make sure that your computer is ready. So, number one is that you want to make sure that you're not already running Catalina so that you don't waste your time. So if you go up to the little apple at the corner, you'll see the About This Mac, and this is an important area for us to go to because it does give us information in regards to the computer that we are currently running on. So you will see here, I am running on macOS Catalina. So I am running the most current version. Now, just because yours does say Catalina does not necessarily mean it's the most current version of Catalina, but it does mean that you're running Catalina, which is good. If you are at this point running Catalina, you may want to make sure that you're running the most current version of it. So you will see here, there is this software update. And if you click on software update, you will see that it comes up and it says your Mac is up to date. Now, be aware when you do this, give it 30 seconds or so because it does have to go check. So if an update came out today, for instance, it may not have checked today. So if you bring this up and it says it's up to date, just wait for 30 seconds or so to see if it gets a chance to validate that you are actually current, because maybe there's a new point update. Now, let's pretend though, yours does not say Catalina, because that's kind of the reason we're here. So first and foremost, if we know that we're going to be doing this, number one, do a backup. It is really, really important for us to do a backup of our computer because we are moving operating systems and major operating system. We want to make sure that if something does go wrong, that we have the ability to recover the information that we possibly have lost. So for those of us that have Time Machine installed, we want to just make sure that Time Machine has gotten a current update. To check that, if you go into your system preferences, you will see this Time Machine here. And you want to make sure that this is on so that there's a disk selected and that it is physically enabled. Now you will see this show Time Machine in menu bar. I do recommend turning that on because you will see when you click that, you do get this little Time Machine icon at the top here, which looks like a backward clock. If you do have this all running, clicking on it will actually say, when the last backup happened. You'll see mine, April 9th, 2020 was the last backup that finished. So that's good. You may want to actually hit the backup now just to make it as current as possible. But if you come in here and this is set to off and there's no drive enabled, you will want to get an external hard drive to become a Time Machine drive. Now be aware, you can use an old hard drive. But if you do use an old hard drive, it may be formatted, which means all the data on it will be erased to start new. So be aware of that if you are going to use a drive that has data on it already. Make sure you're okay with losing it all. My recommendation is to get a hard drive strictly for backup. And if you do that, the moment that you plug that into your computer, the computer will ask you if you'd like that drive to become a Time Machine drive. And if you say yes, you're good to go. Just be aware that your first backup can take a long time depending on the age of your computer and how fast the physical hard drive is. Once this comes up, it'll actually give you a completed date. Now, if this backup had happened today, it would actually show the date and time. But since it happened a couple days ago, it is only showing me the date. So you actually at this point have your backup. So if anything does go wrong, you are good to go and hopefully recover data that was lost. The other thing in regards to data is if you are using certain pieces of software is to spend some time validating that that software is compatible with Catalina. Because as you update your operating system, you may have older versions of some software that loses compatibility. And if that's an important thing for you and that's a piece of software that is required, that is something that you may want to do a little bit of checking out in advance. So I'll give you an example of Microsoft Office. If you have an older version of Microsoft Office, let's say you haven't updated Office in years, and you're running Office 2004. 2004 is not compatible with Catalina, which means all of a sudden it just stops working. That may actually stop you from upgrading or may entice you to buy a more current version of Microsoft Office. Either way, your choice, but be aware. Next thing for you to do before you go any further with Catalina is come in here to your App Store. And the reason we say this is that some of your apps may have gotten updates for Catalina, or at least have more current versions that helps with compatibility. First thing we're going to do is come in here and check. So depending on where you are and what version of the operating system you're in, you may actually see at the bottom, or you'll see me at the left, there's an update section. So all you're going to do is look for that. Again, it could be over here, it could be down here, depending on the version of the OS that you're running. You'll see mine has all my updates up to date. Now, if they aren't up to date, please take the time to update them. Again, the reason for this is that we want to make sure that all the apps are as current as possible. Again, if some of these apps get updated, we may want to run Time Machine again to validate that it backs up the most current versions. Now, after that is finished, we are going to literally come in here and check for the same area. We're going to come in here and do a search for Catalina. And you'll see macOS Catalina right there. So if we click on it, you will see ratings, you will see information about it, and last but not least, you will have a get. At this point in time, you do have to make sure that you have an Apple ID and password, which hopefully you have, so that you've been able to take advantage of applications on the App Store. And make sure that you remember your username and password for this, but you're going to hit the get button. It's going to download and install. So big thing to realize is once we start this process, we have to let it complete. Do this when you do not require your computer for, it could be hours. A simple, quick installation of Catalina usually takes anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes, but that's on a newer computer. On an older computer, which may be doing a bigger update and using slower hardware, this can take 2-3 hours, especially if you have slower internet at home for the download. Do it when your computer does not need to be used, and don't sit and stare at it because it doesn't make it go any faster. And there are going to be sections that it looks like it's stalled, but it hasn't. Just let her go. Now, if you come back 10 hours later and it's stuck, then we may have an issue. And you're going to be on the phone probably with Apple Care at that point. But fingers crossed, all goes well. I've never had an issue. Once Catalina has finished installing and everything is back and running, my recommendation at that point in time is that you are going to go back to the App Store and again check for updates. And the reason for that is that a lot of software will look at the operating system that it's on and that is available to it and give you an update based on your system. Now, because your operating system has upgraded, there may be some more current versions of your software again. So checking for your software updates here, really important. And if you have software that you purchased or bought or downloaded elsewhere outside the App Store, you want to check to see if those have updates as well, especially before you get into them, because they may have updates that regain compatibility with Catalina. Invest that time, give yourself an afternoon to do this whole process. After that, you've got Catalina. You should be good to go. Then my recommendation is come back here. We're going to be doing videos, hopefully that range from 2 to 3 minutes to 5 to 10 minutes. Hopefully not much longer than that, because we want to make sure that these are just small dosages of training knowledge. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you there. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if there's any information or questions that you have, and we will see if we can do those in a future video. Later, my friends.